Hi everyone, welcome to the Resilience Pod, the podcast helping you become resilient in our world full of disruptions. You're here with me, your host Rina Singh, and I am so grateful for you for tuning in today. Now, today it's International Women's Day, woohoo! And to celebrate this, I am with a very special guest on a very special episode to help give us all a boost of inspiration and resiliency. My next guest is passionate about the way technology can improve businesses and lives, and has dedicated her career to helping organizations not only scale but thrive through the fusion of people and tech. Like, what an amazing combination. She is also the founder of the successful meetup group Denver Women in Tech, and is a very prominent key figure in the startup and entrepreneurial community. Her vision for 2021 in 3 words is struggle precedes greatness. How awesome is that? And to give us a boost, as I've mentioned before, please join me on this very special International Women's Day episode, CEO of AppIt Ventures from the USA, Amanda Moriuchi. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Hi, Rina. I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Welcome to the Resilience Pod and this very special episode. Really excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
No problem. Now, you are the CEO of this awesome technology company in the States, and I mean, that's not what we're here to talk about, but we're here to kind of give all of the viewers and listeners a boost into the theme of today, which is International Women's Day, and your journey into the leadership position that you're in. There's a common theme about like everybody should aspire to be this type of leader or a CEO or a director. And I kind of wanted to get your view on women in leadership specifically. And is that what all women really want?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Rina. And I think so much about this, right? Because not only am I surrounded on a daily basis by incredible women, men too, but just incredible women, but I have teenagers at home and a 2-year-old. And I see, I remember what they're going through, right? So as we grow up, we graduate elementary school, then we graduate middle school, then we graduate high school, we go on to college. And, our entire childhood is just this progression, this constant leveling up. And then we get into our career and it's kind of the great wide open. And I think a lot of times we carry that same pressure to constantly level up. You start in an individual contributor role, and then you promote to a director, and then you promote to a manager, and then VP, and then, from there. And it's funny when you sit back and observe, is that what we all really want, is to continually progress through the leadership ranks, or is there another way? And then, as far as entrepreneurship goes, the hustle, right? It's like this next level of celebrity, it feels like to me. And entrepreneurship and leadership, it's celebrated as it should be, but so rarely is the light really shown on the challenges of the role. So worries over cash flow, the challenges of managing a team, the pressure of finding the right go-to-market strategy, dealing with challenging clients. These are things that rarely do CEOs and entrepreneurs talk about because it's not fun, right? I think about it so often when you see CEOs or successful entrepreneurs, who wouldn't want to be them, right? They look like they're on top of the world. Everyone wants to talk to them. They are acknowledged as being inspirational. But, I think it's important to pause for a moment and acknowledge that what you're seeing is someone in a micro moment, right? Usually in a practiced and polished presentation. Very rarely do you see behind the scenes, right? With, rushing to get the kids to school, through your day, getting dinner on the table, balancing all of the things. And it's okay to stop for a moment and consider the costs or the trade-offs in following that path and designing your life for you. What really speaks to your heart and what is best for your hopes and dreams, not necessarily for the masses or to drive outside opinions. And, for me, I think the biggest life-changing thing that I've done is I've spent the past decade, every single year, I go through a process where I reflect back on the year prior. I ask myself 20 questions at the end of every year. And I use that to set goals in 8 life areas. And what it's done is it's really helped me get crystal clear on what I actually want, but the why behind that. And, does this speak to my heart in my quiet moments where it's just me? Is this what drives me? And it's been almost a sacred practice for me because it's given me a starting place to build structure around my life. So I know that every action I'm taking is creating my perfect life, the perfect life for me, not for my neighbors, not for my community, not for my clients, not even really for my family, but for me. And it's just given me that sense of purpose that gives me the energy on my toughest days to really get back up when life really knocks me down. And if I was in pursuit of something just because that was the right thing to do or what people thought, I don't know if I would have the ability to do what I do.
It's so insightful that you say that, because like you said before, everybody wants to be a CEO or a director because of that glorification of the hustle. And you're right, like you want to be like, I want to be you, or you want it to look nice, but you don't appreciate like what goes on behind it. So it's really interesting to get your thoughts on that. And I like how you asked yourself 20 key questions. So I feel like we don't really ask ourselves this, and whether it's the right path for going into leadership, and whether other things are more important. And that's really insightful. Getting that kind of insight into your thinking and your mindset. Now, following on from that, and you've talked about the why and like you asking yourself these questions, you're the CEO of an amazing organization, a young CEO at that, 38, and she doesn't mind me saying this. So, I mean, that's so amazing. Like for someone also in my 30s, that is a great role model. But I want to ask you, what is your why? Like, why did you become a CEO?
Yeah. So, yeah, to be candid, I didn't set out and say, I want to be the CEO of an international tech company by 30. That really wasn't on my radar. And to be honest with you, it was kind of an accident. And I'll explain. So when I first joined AppIt, I came in as the VP of sales. And earlier in my 20s, I had set that goal because I really wanted to be a vice president of sales. That was my thing. And that came from when I was in my 20s, I had a sales manager. Her name was Natasha Gandhi, and she changed my life. I mean, this woman was a force of nature, and she was living, a life of passion and energy and really coming from her heart and using her talents and abilities. And she was infectious, right? And she invested in me when I was young and impressionable and really changed my life. And because of her, she inspired me to want to be that VP of sales because I wanted to impact people the way that she had impacted me. And her life story is just remarkable. And I wanted to have that kind of impact. And so I had set that goal to be a VP without really knowing all the things that went into it, right? And I invested in getting deeper training beyond what I had gotten from Natasha, and I really invested in my professional growth. And then the founder of AppIt, he ended up building a product company that has since taken off. I mean, that guy is unbelievably brilliant and successful. And so I came in to take over as CEO. And at that time, that was driven by pure passion and drive and energy. And, you know, that is the thing that will require you to dive into the deep end of the pool. But that is not the thing that sustained me. What sustained me was my team of people. I mean, I think of all of my faults, the one strength that I really do have is I am really good at building a team of excellent people. And that group, my team, they are the reason why I'm here today. They are a group of incredible people that I admire. They push me every day. And that's what gets me through burnout. If I didn't have these guys, there's no way I would be able to do what I do today. And so there are a lot of kind of themes that you can pull from that. But that's why so often you'll hear me say, you have got to be surgical in who you surround yourself with. You have got to be very picky about who are the 5 people you spend the most of your time with, and are they calling you to your higher purpose, or are they trying to pull you down the path of comfort and mediocrity? And do they kind of light that fire in you and push you and help you in your vulnerable moments and help you practice and grow? And I think that's been one of the biggest lessons for me, is be surgical about who I surround myself with. And I've reached where I am today because of who I'm surrounded by.
That is so amazing, Amanda, and just shows your leadership style, which I kind of alluded to in the beginning in your introduction about the people side of it. And I've read the saying that as a CEO, you actually work for your people, not the other way around.
Okay.
And it just and it just shows that, like, your thought pattern and your mindset about really investing in your team and then them making it who they are is really admirable. And you don't hear a lot of people say that, and I think that gives us all a little bit of a boost. It's given me a boost. I'm getting like goosebumps with you saying this, and I feel really like pumped up. And you've said about, surround yourself with 5 good people. Now, there'll be some of us in our careers where we're the 5 people that we're constantly surrounded by is those people at work, and they might not necessarily be in that position or have that mindset as a leader as you do, who are not so invested in helping you overcome that. Any tips for people who are in that situation?
Yeah, so I think the easiest thing would be look outside of your business. And, I think that was the power of Denver Women in Tech is it is stunning to me what happens when you put together a group of women. And you don't have to be in the same company, but getting together, at least we got together once a month regularly prior to the pandemic in person. Now it's virtual, but you can find incredible people outside of your company. And I mean, even inside, it's not always the people with all the bravado, right, that are the most inspiring. Sometimes it's that quiet leader that shows up and will listen and ask a thought-provoking question or point you down a path. So I would say to some of my younger colleagues, do not confuse bravado and confidence with quality. Sometimes the most quiet and almost tranquil people are the ones who will have the greatest impact on your life and your career.
Oh, that is amazing. What a key tip. So everybody who's listening, and especially all my ladies out there watching, please take into account what Amanda is saying. Like, you're getting it from someone who is firsthand experience of it and is, preaches what she practices. So moving on from that, it's International Women's Day today. And the theme this year in 2021 is choosing to challenge. Now, taking a look at your career and then the position you're in as a CEO, being a female, being a young female CEO, you must have had so many challenges come your way. How have you chosen to challenge some of those things that have come your way?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'll say a few things. Yes, it is challenging being a woman in a male-dominated industry. However, I am really proud to see our communities and our society and our culture really starting to shift and almost take a moment to pause and reflect. And I I do love that. So a few things. I would say, despite all of the external challenges, I would have to say my biggest challenges have all been internal. And I would certainly say 2020 showed me in no uncertain terms that I'm in control of very, very little, right? So, I think a lot of people that end up taking on senior leadership roles, they have some element of being a control freak, and that is me. And really, I had to, in 2020, challenge my need for control. And I had to humbly approach my team and ask them to hold me accountable. And what I realized is my very drive to control things that may have made me successful up until a certain point in the role that I'm in was actually starting to put downward pressure on the growth of our organization, because I was limiting the very excellent people that I brought onto my team. And so really throughout that process, I realized, look, growth, it's never ending. Bravery is not a one-time thing. And I've seen, especially recently, that every time I level up in my professional growth, there are always new and fresh challenges to address. And really each time I've come against something like that, I've had to make a choice to either shy away from my fears or face them head on. And it can get really exhausting sometimes, because you feel like you've reached the next level of like a video game, right? And there's the new thing, right? And that sweet taste of victory from conquering the previous level, it's like, oh great, now here's the next thing. But I'll say this, every time that I've had self-doubt, I have to remind myself, it's not what I think about the situation, it's how I choose to act. My behavior is always more powerful than my emotions. And each time I act, I prove myself capable again and again and again. So this year, if I had to pick the choose to challenge, I'm going to challenge my negative thoughts, my insecurities, my fleeting emotions. And instead, I'll put my faith in my actions. Now, coming back to kind of more of those external challenges, my little secret is there is immense power in being underestimated. Because when nobody expects very much from you, you have incredible freedom to experiment and figure out what the boundaries are and push those a little bit. Maybe fail if that's how you like to describe it. But then what happens is when no one's paying attention, you've climbed your mountain and you hit the summit and everyone's like, whoa, where did she come from? And I'm like, please keep underestimating me, please, because that gives me incredible latitude to experiment and innovate. And then by the time everyone starts to pay attention, I'm so far ahead of the race, there's no way they could catch up. And I love that. So maybe we should just keep that a secret on the pod, because I do think underestimation is a competitive advantage, and I love it.
Wow, I am getting goosebumps all over again just hearing you say that. One, because what you were about to say, I actually didn't anticipate that whatsoever, about challenging yourself internally first, because forget challenging externally. If you can't challenge yourself, what's the point? So insightful and so obvious, but we fail to do that. So I love that. And then I love that external factors things, because you're always going to get challenges, and the underestimated element of it's just wow. Ladies and gents, if you are watching this is a secret weapon that you only get to use if you've made it this far down the episode. So thank you so much. That is so amazing, you sharing that. And you mentioned in your response there about boundaries, and I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper onto that moving on, because a lot of women in business, doesn't matter what area of business you're in, face this issue of boundaries, and I've had it in the past, and recently I've been talking to a lot of women who are like, oh, there's just so much going on, I don't know when to say no, like or I'm expected to do this. Like, what's your take on managing that boundary?
Boundaries. So I struggled big time with boundaries. And, I do think that saying of every strength overused becomes a weakness. And for me, I think this is the case with boundaries, right? So as I had mentioned earlier, I place so much faith in my ability to act. And I've trained myself to let my emotions ebb and flow, right? And instead I'll just take action and see what happens. Well, a lot of times what that can do is an overuse. It becomes a challenge where I don't set good boundaries. And then what happens, and I know a lot of the women on the podcast are going to resonate with this, especially if you're a working mom. I mean, look, balancing a career and a marriage and a family and a social life and your health and your family relationships and your neighbor. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I do think, I don't know for most other women, but for me, I was really taught, like, do the best you can, make people happy, don't make a scene. And as you get older, I don't think many women are taught, at least I wasn't, to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And it is okay to say no, but we can say that with our mind and feel guilt in our heart. And I go back to, I have got to set boundaries. It is my duty to myself to stay healthy. And if I'm not okay, nobody else is okay, right? It's for the same reason when you're on the airplane, you put that oxygen mask on yourself before helping another person, especially for the moms out there. That goes against every instinct we have. But there is a reason. You cannot fill another person's cup without yours being full. And so for me, I have struggled with setting boundaries, and I've felt the negative effects. I've had health issues. I've had sleep issues. I mean, it's been a real challenge. And so what I've done, back to surrounding yourself with excellent people, I've gone to my team. I've gone to my inner circle and I said, guys, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me? Let me practice. Let me fumble through this. Give me some feedback. And I keep trying until I find my footing. And, the crazy thing is setting boundaries isn't as bad as I make it in my head. And the benefit is much, much better, right? So I guess the point here is that we weren't built for burnout and exhaustion. Yeah. We just weren't. We were built for joy and abundance. And I think if we can just remember that, stay focused on our goals, ignore the burnout, prevent that from happening, just test out the boundaries, try it on for size and see what happens.
So valuable. And it's really nice to hear that you saying that you've had some challenges, because the perception is, oh no, like she's the CEO, like, oh, she's perfect and like she doesn't have any challenges, and is it just me? Because I know a lot of females think that, and I've been in that situation too. So just hearing you say that, it feels like a relief, and it's like, oh, okay, like I will try and do this too. So thank you for that. And it just made me think, when you were saying that we follow boundaries all the time imposed by others. So why can't we impose them ourselves? And like the bit you say about guilt, it's something that we have to work on and challenge ourselves. So from your words, exactly. Yeah. So finally, I have a question for you, and I could quiz you all day, but we have to respect your time. We as women, there's a lot of things going on around women in initiatives about how we need allies and we need male allies, and there's so much on that. However, I've struggled to find so much information and content around, well, female allies. And like, why are we not having conversations about that? You know, we're saying we're kind of like slating the opposite gender and everybody else about not being our allies, but not really looking at ourselves and our fellow women. So for my question to you is, and just this was just to give you a bit of background into my thinking process, do you feel we need female allies?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I do see value in allies, men and women both.
Yeah.
There is something incredibly special about a female ally, right? And so I take this almost as when I say it's my duty to thrive, it's my duty because I am showing the next generation of young women behind me what's possible, right? And so, you know, just as Natasha was living out her purpose with passion and energy and no fear, and again, just as a force of nature, she inspired me to make a difference. Just her life and her career has that ripple effect out that will go on forever, right? And my mom, she was an entrepreneur in the 80s when it wasn't popular, right? And she taught me some of the lessons that I lean on every single day. And I think this is why it's so critically important, not only for women to get very, very clear on what they want and why, and live their life that's coming from that quiet place in your heart that only you know. And if you can do that and you live your life with purpose in alignment with what you truly desire, you have no idea who's watching you and who you'll inspire along the way. And so, yes, women allies are critically important. We are the bedrock of our homes, of our companies, our communities, and we are truly unstoppable when we support each other because we show other women, hey, it is possible to be the CEO of an international tech company, raise a 2-year-old, I have a house full of boys, right? Yeah. I can do this. And if I can do it, you can do it. And here's what it takes. And I think women, we remind each other of the truths that we already know. And we speak power into each other in only ways that women can do. And I think that's the power of women allies. And they are there. And so I would encourage all of your listeners to find those people. It doesn't have to be in your company. It doesn't have to be in your social circle. It doesn't have to be that person banging the loudest drum or making the most noise or drawing the most attention. It is that person that's like, you can do this and you're strong and you know the truth. And those are powerful, powerful people.
Absolutely. I just love everything you've said throughout this whole podcast, and it resonates, and the power of having a role model who you can relate to as well on a female level too. So thank you so much for investing your time in helping us all become a little bit more resilient. It has been such a great pleasure. Now, before I close off, I just wanted to ask you if you had any final thoughts to share with me and our listeners.
Yeah, I think the last thing, I just want to encourage your listeners, right? So many times we look to outside leaders or speakers to offer up a bit of inspiration. And I'll say this, you know your truth, and the quiet truth speaks for yourself. And just give yourself that credit. And you have everything that you need inside of yourself to be successful. And you owe it to yourself to forge the path that's perfect for you. And you can do it. We can do hard things. And I guess I just want to leave with that bit of encouragement.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing your thoughts, coming on the Resiliencepod. And yeah, just thank you so much for taking part in this very special International Women's Day episode.
Thank you
And
so much.
you're welcome. And guys, thank you all for listening and watching. If you are, I am truly grateful. If you liked this episode, then please don't forget to like and comment and let me know your thoughts about what everything Amanda has said, and tell me how you're going to be choosing to challenge going forward for 2021. That's all from me today, your host, Rina Singh. Don't forget to subscribe and visit the resiliencepod.com website for first dibs on all new content, free to you always. Until next time, keep on investing in your resilience.